Hello, welcome to a very special here on the BJ Show. We are going to be sharing some bit of off-season football. We are going to be talking the top 20 all-time best beer bet and AFL Grand Finals. But we're going to share 20. Sit back, enjoy, and let's get on with the show. So welcome aboard with all your off-season. We are showing hundreds and hundreds of famous, top 20. And this is what we are going to be showing. A discrete tackling, a scoring grand final, and a kick that builds the mighty middle right as the siren scream sounds. These are the moments that turn footy players into legends, into all-time famous athletes. The game in full load for over 100 years of the beautiful AFL Grand Final has been staged for the Australian sport greatest theatre. It was where history is made. Danking and smashed and heats are broken. And here we are. Well, today, as I mentioned, we are counting down the 20 greatest grand finals of all time. The impossible comeback to the finish so close. They're giving the great hairs and our games are defeated their errors and will be talked about ever. Let me down in the comments down below what games you think number one. And don't forget to subscribe. Very much appreciate your support of doing that and much more AFL history. Alright, let's get on with it. So I remember this game and it's the 20th. Now I think this is one of the best, absolutely one of the lowest scores of all time. So in 20th, we have the Sydney Swans, the 20th year. So we're speaking 2025 to 2005. You know, these two went head to head. So as I mentioned, the Sydney versus West Coast. As things kick off with this game, was Stafford won the longest premiership debut in the league history. The Sydney Swans, known for formalised as South Melbourne Bloods, haven't held up the cup in the time of 72 years. Today, 92 years if they haven't won a premiership, which is incredible. The years have gone by, 72 years, and could feel the weight of it. This wasn't a pretty high-scoring game. It was actually quite nice this typical Saturday afternoon. It was a brilliant, final, scrappy first bounce with just seconds left on the clock. The Swans landing to a 4-point lead. A high bell went deep into West Coast forward line. A pack of form that entering the season came down to this one contest, and the hero emotion of Leo Barry flew across the pack, took a massive mark, and still friendship never 3/4 century in the marking. So we do continue on to, but we go 11 years earlier in 19th place, which is the 1994, was only a few years old. West Coast once again will have a share with Geelong. Now, this was West Coast, well, in the early days coming to the AFL, was absolute pack of their power, storming their emotion on the new national competition after winning their first flag in 92. They met a skillful Geelong set back at the MCG. The game was reminded for one thing. The Eagles shattered the motorbike. They were a wall odds machine. They're climbing, defeating the Cats. Their skill, pressure, and inspiring were on every level, maybe on a different level. So coming to development and proving that their Premiership Cup had a new home out in the West. We go to the 18th of 1994, so we go back once again 30 years early. Was the year of the 60s of the Melbourne versus Collingwood, the King's birthday traditional from today. The end of destiny. Melbourne have been the unstoppable face of the 50s and early 60s under the legend of North Smith. Now, if you don't know who North Smith is a famous name for the best on ground, and it is a very special name in this greatest sport. But this would be their last taste of glory for a very long time. in a taste of low scoring arm wrestling against their armory rivals Collingwood. The Demons just held on, and boy, the game was reminded for the raw drama and histrionic weight make the end of Melbourne's glory era and the beginning of apprenticeship debut that would hurt the club for 57 years. We go back into the late 70s and we go into 1979. The 17 players is Carlton versus, once again, we got another Collingwood game, another body. Wow, this one is a different chapter in the making of the footy's most bitter rivalry. This grand final was decades by one of the most about the moment of in the sport's history. Carlton was depending to seal the deal when Wayne Armour chased a loose ball towards the boundary line in full pocket. He threw his body at it, kicking it back into play. Just it seemed capitalized to be one out. Ken Shilly, one of the legends of this game, was right there to strike the goal, and Carlton struck it home by 5 points. To this day, fans were ancient themselves, blue and faithful about whether that ball was in or out. We come into the 16th and we are in 4 years later from 1979 into the 1983 between Hawthorn and Essendon. And we don't see a lot of Essendon premiership favours in my time, but this is the big one. The beginning of a four-some dishonoured. This match was much the start of Hawthorn's complete and their unseen domination of the 80s. After losing a few grand finals, this was the win. The unspaced, their brilliant brand of ball. It was victory built on equal parts toughness and skills, setting the stage of decades of punish and centuries. The club legends of one of the greatest teams of all time. We're now going to the 15th, we're counting down, and the 1995 Carlton versus Geelong, another great rival here on the video show and on sharing. So this is one of the last time Carlton stood on the Premiership Divine, and the boy, they did it in style. The 95 Blues and judge a team so powerful they only lost 2 games in a 12 season. Their grand final performance against Geelong was nothing short of a masterclass. They were too slick, too strong, and just plain too good for the Cats. The game was reminded as a precision of a final electric segment from one of the most complete teams of the modern era. The 1981 grand final between Carlton and Collingwood, another great scenario. That is in 14th place. One of the points that was made that it all was separated. These two absolutely amazing rivals in a classic battle. This was brutal to soaring contest that went down to the absolute wire. In a game defeat was scorning insensitive bone joining pressure. Carlton managed hang on that skill of heat. The Collingwood was another heartbreaking chapter in the book of the club history. Blues grand final loss for the Blues. It was tended of pure gifted. 13th is Essendon versus Carlton. The Baby Bombers, known for have arrived in a team full of young, silent players of 100. Essendon were to took on the competition by storm after a ridiculous 20-final comeback against Adelaide. They faced their old enemy Carlton on the last day in September. The game is reminded for its blind appeal and, of course, the Michael Long legend, incredible long goal, the North Smith winning performance. They announced a new Southern era for the Dons. We go back into the 1954 with 9 formalised Footscray Bulldogs with Western Bulldogs today in 12th place. We have the Footscray Bulldogs take on Melbourne Demons and Mother. This is what's one of the best ones. This is one of means everything people Melbourne West in the 1954 that the working class suburb Footscray finally tasted Prince Glory for the first time up against the powerhouse Melbourne Football Club. The Bulldogs were a product, a performance that the ages. It was a victory overflowing with, well, eminence and meaning aware of moment temper for the club. That was also often had to battle against the odds. It a scared day in the history of the Western Bulldogs. 11th in 1972, Carlton versus Richmond, another 12-week shared. And we welcome to the highest scoring grand final in history. A ridiculous 327 points were kicked in a game that was less a football match than more in a wild West shootout. Richmond was the dominating team out on the air, but Carlton left genius coach Rob Baslan unless a remarkable game plan out of the regret attack. The Blues' final score was 28 goals. No, 177 is still a grand final record. It was a high chase record, smashing spectators that changed the way people thought about the offense football. We come now to the top 10, and this is one of the, we mentioned about West Coast's first ever grand final. They take on Geelong, and this is the 1992 grand final. This was the day of the cup, finally across from Navbird. West Coast 1992 premiership was a massive moment for the VFL, traditional in the AFL after falling short the year before. The Eagles came back to the G and delivered a masterclass in skills pressure that Geelong Clyde couldn't handle. The game is legacy from Peter Mentor, win 5 goals performance from the wing, a breaking display of running and courage that won him the North Smith medal and delivered his first flag to the non-between club. 2017, ninth place Richmond versus Adelaide. The end of the 37-year drought and the competition of one of the most drama turnarounds in football history, having to finish 13th the year before, and there's no one giving Richmond a chance, but under coach Damien Hart, that delivers a close of high pressure style of football. The master feat of small forwards won and to Adelaide's team that had been the best team all year, completing overwhelming the biggest stage and unleashing its expectations of her joy for the long summer target faithful. We come to the 8th place 2016, the Western Bulldogs versus Sydney. A true long flog fairy tale for the Western Bulldogs. 2016 flag is one of the greatest underdog stories in the Australian football period. They came 7th on the ladder, winning 3 Donna's defeat finals on the road just to make to their first grand final since 1961. They faced the mighty British Sydney Swans in the Emily contest. The Dogs, well, they somehow broke their 62-year punishment out tomboy stealing goal from inside 50. The centre square. The centre square is the moment that will give the Bulldogs fans goosebumps forever. We come down to the 7th as we go back to the 1940s, way back in the VFL days, which is known for South Melbourne. They blew the bloodbath as they're known for with the 1945 Carlton versus South Melbourne, the bloodbaths. This game is in form of and for all the wrong reasons, known forever the bloodbath. The 1945 Grand Final was less than a game of football and more of all the rules played just the end of the war. World War II tenders were high and the blinded over expectations. They were reported of players, officials, and even fans getting into the fight. The match was scared by shocking violence and stands as a wild capacity tale of what happens, what agreement failed of our control on the biggest stage. 6th place is the 1991 Grand Final, Hawthorn versus West Coast. And this is what I've been talking about, that West Coast has really played very well in that 90s era, but a truly graded Grand Final. This is the only one in the modern era that wasn't played at MCG. With the Graydon Siren stand under command, the game was moved to Wavy Park, Hawthorn formless in front of their home war fans, standing Hawthorn team wolfing the storm from the up and coming West Coast Eagles. The stage versus Hawthorn planning to perform make it a moment in history odds in the grand final history. The 1977 is simply played the North Melbourne versus Collingwood, the first and two drawn grand final on our list. North Melbourne Collingwood, both battle rivals, went to war and went to war indeed before quarters, only to finish with the scores locked at 76 all. The match itself wasn't in it and filled it wrong. In the dying moment, North Bill Manton went on a absolute mission of 4-bound run down the wing and late mark and goal from Collingwood Bruce Wiggy Dawn tied the score. A week later, went win the game replay, but the shed drama of the draw game errors it as high on this list. For here we go, man. Carlton versus Collingwood, the 1970 grand final. This game was a change for forever. It was front of a proud record of 121,000 people. And it was Collingwood lock unbeatable, holding a 44-point lead at halftime. But the wounds of Carlton coach Rod Barton gave his new formal order, handball, and play on at all costs. And what happened? That was the greatest comeback in grand final history. The Blues completely ran stranded the map by side for victory. Incredible Alex Gilligo, spectacular mark. It was one of the talents regarded and another disappointing loss. Collingwood. Top three West Coast Eagles versus Sydney, the 2006 grand final and third place. The era finals to the greatest modern rivals for the two straight years in a row. You couldn't slide a piece of paper between these two top string of games decorated by less than a goal. In the 2025 Sydney win by 4 points. In 2006 they met again, and it was somehow even more divine. They tore low scoring goal for goal effort played out in the front of nearly 98,000 screaming fans in the ninth. In the end, the Eagles claimed on the win by string something point, getting their revenge for the years for and putting the perfect hit of implementation point on incredible rivalry. Top two, here we go, the 1989 grand final. Top in the second place is Hawthorn versus Collingwood. Official called the symbolized greatest grand final ever. This was bounded of skills, gut, and unbelievable courage. The brutal started from the opening bound, with Hawthorn, Diamond Brenton, Dominos being an icon of mark only to get back with a broken ribs, taking a mark and kick a goal. What forward was a high scoring epic shootout. Gary Ablett Sr. was one of the men's wicket rude for Geelong, kicking king goal record of 9 goals in a losing team. Hawthorn was a team of rookie wonders, but just received to give it in, holding on to win by 6 points in a game that has been pure legend. Now, before I share this one, I hope you enjoy more than anything. So, the first time in history, almost every club has won a premiership, but this team has not won a premiership since 1966. That's 49 years the time I record. If this not happened, which hasn't, it'll be 50 years since next season that where St Kilda have not won a premiership. And this is what we have. St Kilda versus Collingwood in 1966. It's one of the best grand final of all time. The fairy tale stand above all. St Kilda has never ever won a premiership in their entire history, facing Collingwood in a club entering by Floyd's grand final, losing in front of over 100,000 fans. This was the incredible, unbeatable terrors, ruminating for where the margin was never grown beyond a couple of goals. With scores level and just minutes ago, a bounty throw in from a dreaming found ways of a young saint named Barry Brown, his Woody Tom kicked Tomlin through for a behind. Prince Saints stood up by 1 point. The siren sound just moments later delivered the Saints their first ever and only finish in the most for incredible history of this game in from underdogs from having today. They have been in grand finals back in the 2010s and 2011, lost in the draw against Collingwood and as well Geelong. But well, let's wrap it up. Well, there you have it. There's 20 games. What do you think of one of the peak of the greatest sport from the bloodbath of the 45 to the 1 point feeling of the 66? There are stories we tell our kids or our nephews or our nieces or our grandfathers, grandmothers, our grandparents, or our grandkids. These moments are heartbreak. Pearl, Monson, and Pearl, Unstrubber Joy. Did you have that in order right? What did I miss? Let me know in the numbers in the comments down below. What is your favourite grand final from back then? Or do you like any of these? Comments down below as well. I love to hear from you. Thank you so much for your support. And make sure you, like I said, like it and hit that notification because there's so much to come. There's quizzes. There's so much to come. There's regular episodes. You know you hear every time. So thank you so much for your support and we'll see you very soon. All right, video show's out. Bye for now.